Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane, featuring today a 2 versus 2 on Lorraine for the Monday Novice fight. And worry not, I know this is April Fool's Day, but there shall be none from me. I would rather not I say something and then you begin throwing yourself off a cliff because you took it seriously. So then, we shall be watching FOG Elf erotic daguerreotypes fighting for the Americans, alongside his partner FOG Lempuk Snis. We shall refer to them as FoG 1 and FoG 2, Freeze and Confusion. Opposing them shall be Constantly Noob and Constantly Losing. And of course right here we do see perhaps, an indicator of perhaps why they might not be doing so well. That is a rotten attitude. If they're actually accepting that they're constantly losing or constantly noob. Of course, there's a chance that they're being ironic, but truly, when someone goes with a title like this, you're rarely ironic. But for the Monday Novice fight, now, of course, 1 day to go until the Company of Heroes 2 beta for those that have pre-ordered, so be sure you have done that. There should be some nice bonuses on Steam if you do so there. But the Panzer Elite fighting for the 110th Panzer Brigade, opposing them the Commonwealth and American forces fighting together in a strike force. Strike Force T. There we go, fuel getting secured by the Commonwealth. We're seeing munitions going to fall to the Kettenkrad, and both players in fact using Kettenkrads. Lots of Panzer Grenadiers so far. Lots and lots. First engagement going down south here. Recce section engaging with a squad of Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer is actually moving a bit about here, trying to engage, and looks like Lieutenant Jones is flanking about here with a Sten gun. The Sten gun known for its ease of production, and also it's being a bit of a miracle if it actually shot properly. Slight thing here though with the first engagement. Note he began immediately going for the reconnaissance shot. You can do that, but the usual better trick is actually to wait till they're down to one man, for example, and trying to retreat, then you shoot it, then you have a much higher chance of actually getting the entire squad. So that was definitely a bit of basically shooting way too early there for FoG 1. FoG 2's rifle moving in there, and which also means pretty much there's not going to be an infantry right here, meaning they are intending to likely focus right here, handing over a large part of the map to the Panzer Elite forces, which is not necessarily the best of ideas. Panzer Brigade squad here, though, taking up position in the house with Gewehr 43s. Rifling out in the open again, remember to use cover, and we do see FoG 2's men pulling out to do exactly that. Panzer Grenadiers running left and right, and we do see the engineers up north being pushed away by another squad of Panzer Grenadiers from Losing. Panzer Grenadiers up here, coming under fire. Recce section moving up, pulling up to the side of the house. That's a better move right here, getting halt out in the open by the Panzer Grenadiers. Panzer Grenadiers inside the house, dying. Looks like they're going to retreat. Another Panzer Grenadier squad taking up position in the house. 2 windows to fire down there. Recce section can move into the house, perhaps. Another squad of Panzer Grenadiers moving in from there. Then moving away. And Kettenkrad going for the munitions right there. Fuel point right there secure. Not the fuel point there, but the fuel point there. Curious. Bren carrier on the way for FoG 1. 2 infantry section, a lieutenant and a Bren section. That's an alright force composition for the Commonwealth, in particular if that Bren carrier gets upgraded with the Vickers. But 2 Panzer squads inside the house here. The Recce section inside the house is actually dying quite brutally. And there we go. Jenkins lying on this right in front of the door, dying down to 1 man inside the house. Get it out of there, FoG 1. Get it out of there. Save your men. In the meanwhile, the Panzers continue to fight pretty solidly. We're seeing a trench dug in the middle of the street, digging through asphalt, or possibly dirt. I'm not entirely sure. Is it cobblestone, actually? Hard to say either way. Through something and not just dirt. The British troops somehow manage it through sheer stoicism. And of course, unwavering faith in King George the 5th. Not the 4th. Nobody liked him. Oh, well, I don't know. Not going to talk about British royals. Anyways, Panzer taking spotting a small engineer squad trying to harass. Obviously, quickly stopped. British troops seem to have secured this part of the map, but we are seeing a swift counterattack by the Panzers, although very, very low on health. And what is this? A sniper, a sharpshooter up from FoG 2. Who's, by the way, not actually got an awful lot of infantry. I think he's got he's got one squad of riflemen, then he went for weapon supports and then sniper. I think that might have been a bit too early, but at least, you know, he's mixing things up, which is alright, but as long as you do it in the right way. Needs to be a bit careful he does not get shot. Leading cause of death for snipers is getting shot by the opponent. Since they don't like snipers, there we go, sniper needs to retreat. And oh dear, again, nope, there's a huge gap right here. Of course, they're not covering the flanks, and again, that's... I'll just pause again to briefly explain. That's a bit the problem with sort of, again, you know, going towards here and then having all focus on this very narrow path. I mean, you tend to forget about the flank, you tend to, in this case, the front line, thus allowing the opponent to actually sneak in through the gaps. And that's rather caught the sniper right here and killed him. So, definitely some problems there in Allied coherence so far. Vickers up here. Engineers holding up the trench. Brenko quickly getting pushed back. Troops getting suppressed here by a 30 caliber Vickers machine gun replacement from there. Doing alright, riflemen up, but they're out in the open. Need cover. Get into cover, gentlemen, or you will get shot by those nasty Panzer Grenadiers. And we're seeing grenades up for the Americans, actually doing quite a bit of damage right there. That's nice, but an armored car has arrived from Constantly Noob, or Constantly Novice. Moving in to punish the Americans, but already again note, most of the map is in the hands of the Panzer Lead of the 110th Panzer Brigade. Of the first wave Panzer Brigades, there were essentially two waves of them. The first waves had much better equipment. The second ones had not quite as grand equipment. On the other hand, they did have more sort of diversity. Overall, the problem with the Panzer Brigades on the Western Front was they were actually designed for fighting on the Eastern Front. And the thing is, it was very different fighting the Soviets and, say, the Americans, which was usually also what German troops moved from the Eastern Front to the Western Front found out. Bren section in the trench. And mortar attack coming about, armor coming up, again coming into fire of the Bren guns. Recce section going for the fuel, although could easily take some nasty damage here from the auto cannons, and they do. Down to one man taking the fuel and getting out of there. Not looking too good. Armor car moves in again, has to be careful, The Bren guns can't, and there we go, buttoning it down. Vickers firing away as well. Not the best move there by Constantly Novice. Panzer gun is supported by an infantry half-track, possibly the mortar half-track as well, making a full assault right here. No incendiary grenades, though. By the looks of it, that might actually have been a nice move, and perhaps also a nice move would be not charging in front of the Vickers machine gun emplacement. Intending a mortar round landing straight into the trench, threatening to turn it into a barbecue pit. In the meanwhile, we are seeing Fork 2 making slider moves. In fact, it's time to look at Fork 2. Vickers, Bren gun, by the way, has not been upgraded with the Vickers. That's definitely a big poor move. Grenade, all the Panzers repairing. Nicely targeted right there by Fork 2. Let's go there by Constantly Novice, not dragged on it. Section quickly into the house, but coming under huge threat from the armored cars and the infantry half-track with this Panzer gun squad in it. Engineers pushed off there by Panzer guns. Continued efforts from the engineers in the center to take victory points. Field support track up for Fork 1. Armored cars blasting away at the rifle and sending them quickly off. And a mortar emplacement now up for Fork 2. Lots of emplacement, lots of digging in, not really much moving forwards, and looks like he's finally getting the Vickers for his Bren carrier. More riflemen out. 3 riflemen squad. Of course, he could consider taking up. Bren carrier, the Vickers moving forward and not quite hitting anything or engaging. Engineers getting hunted down by the infantry half-track. The leichte Schützenpanzerwagen. And there we go, suppressing them quite nicely. Panzers adding in a bit of fire. We could very well see that engineer squad go down. And there we go, engineer squad is lost. And another unit went down here. Mind-boggling, though, that he actually sent the Panzer squad down here to do that, knowing that this is where the British base is, knowing how much firepower is directed towards this area. I mean, it's quite bizarre. Mortar half-tank, though, needs to get away. No idea why he left a support unit like that out on its own. Bren moving up, Vickers firing away, mortar half-track taking quite a bit of nasty damage. Damaged engine, in fact. Infantry half-track moving up, mortar half-track out of control. Panzer strike in it, but that was definitely a poor move. And again, you should never leave an a support unit unattended like that, again, in particular when so close to the opponent's base. Really poor unit preservation going on there from Constantly Losing. Now he's retreating it the other half-track right in front of the Americans' advancing forces, destroying it, and he couldn't even lose a Panzer Grenade squad. He's caught on the wrong side. Panzer Jet gets one. Panzer Grenade squad got wiped out. Again, needs to work on things right there from Constantly Losing.
Enemy unit down.
Some poor tactics, poor unit preservation. Another mortar half-track up from Constantly Losing. In the base, we also see the Panzer support command up, so he could consider getting Panzer IVs or Hotchkisses, whatever he's actually chosen. But let's go look at Constantly Novice with 2 armored cars, 3 squads of Panzers, and a Marder. The Marder 3. Armored car went down to sticky bombs. And Sturmgewehrs for the Panzer Grenadiers. Infantry action charging straight at the armored car here, which has gained veterans 1 gun for defensive, making it a bit tougher. And we are seeing a Bofors 40mm anti-aircraft gun going up for the Commonwealth forces. No 17-pounder gun, and even this, I mean, there's going to be things that can actually block its line of fire. The question is how effective it is. Well, there we go. Panzer's advancing and coming under fire from the 40mm anti-aircraft gun. The Marder coming under fire, getting buttoned, in fact. Panzer's out there with a Panzer wreck. Need to be careful, need to be careful. And there we go, the Bofors unleashing death and fury, but apparently can't hit the broadside of a barn. At least not at this particular engagement. Mortar half-track up again. Marder looks like it will be getting away. No idea, by the way, why Novice rushed it in like that. It's a unit that's just behind your infantry unit. Again, it's a support unit with the specialty knocking out tanks. It is not a tank despite having a big gun. One would almost think you'd need some sort of children's book to explain the difference, what is a tank, what is not. Possibly with an audio version narrated by some condescending author. This is not a tank, dimwit. Anyways, going for the resources up there. Americans making some progress, actually taking territory away. And again, a bit the problem now since the Panzer are now the ones focusing down here, largely forgetting about the rest of the map. Although we do see a Luftwaffe squad coming out there. Been sent in to support the Panzer Brigade, to replace some of all the infantry lost, I suppose. Mortar half-track moving up. Mortar emplacement continuing to fire away. Another Marder out for Constantly Novice. Luftwaffe troops engaging the rifle right there. Need to be careful, don't get too close. They're essentially false grenadiers, which means you don't want to get into the area where the Americans have the advantage. And a grenade against the Luftwaffe troops. Killing one poor bastard right away. Definitely not going to win that fight. And basically the Panzer Brigade is already boxed down. Can't really stand up in any sort of major engagement, it seems like. Panzer IV arrives. Not the best one, of course. And looks like a lieutenant actually got blown to bits by a Marder 3 direct hit. That's definitely a rarity. Panzer is not doing anything to support the mortar half-track. Again, poor usage of Constantly Losing's mortar half-tracks. He's placing them in positions where they can easily get knocked out. Poor unit preservation, poor unit usage. British infantry advancing straight at the armoured car and the assault rifle equipped Panzer Grenadiers. Panzer IV running forwards, armoured skirts up, MG42 mount on the top, on the way. Tank busters moving about on their own. Again, they need to at least work with other infantry who have increased squad sizes. Armoured car running straight in front of the Bofors, and we're seeing a 17-pounder gun out. I think a bit too late for Fork 1. Panzer IV rolling forwards. Marder's up, coming under fire from that Bofors. And there we go, that 17-pounder gun is never going to get finished. And there we go, the British base is pretty much buggered, since that was the only anti-tank he ever had. Despite, you know, having had Savage, he did not equip him the Fiat, he did not even get a Stuart light tank. Instead, his base is pretty much target practice for the Marders and the Panzers. And there we go, Bofors is wrecked. Mortar emplacement is wrecked. Artillery getting called in on the Panzer IV. Headquarters command truck taking fire. And Royal Artillery Doctrine seems to have been the choice for Fog 1. No. Oh, yes. Constantly Novice also seems to have gone for some doctrine.
Can now use armor-piercing rounds.
He's gone for Tank Hunter Doctrine. He's actually going for the right-hand side. Might he be trying for a Yak Panther? That would be curious. But the centre's falling. The Americans and Allies overall are gaining progress. Again, a bit the problem that the Axis are a bit climbing up too much and still not really achieving much for their forces. Also partly because Constantly Losing, while still operating our zone, has rather focused himself on march on armour, despite his opponent largely relying on infantry. I mean, there really seems to be some sort of disconnect going on between Constantly Losing and what's actually happening on the battlefield. I mean, he can't really seem to accept that his opponent might be using infantry, and he needs something to kill it properly. And Panzers won't do that very well, necessarily. Plus, of course, they rather decided, to try and hammer down this area rather than say, take back the rest of the map before doing that. And then again, Allies are currently gaining map superiority. And now it looks like he's sending in the Martyrs without any support at all. Again, poor unit usage. Support units like the Martyr, and a Martyr is a support unit, should not be sent in without something to lead the way. It's meant to support other units in their effort. It's not meant to charge in blindly on its own. In this case, it looks like they are going to get that headquarters command truck. And it is gone. We could even see the field support truck down. But we could also quickly see those down. Trench going down in the center. Come on, Männer. Zerstören Sie die Tommies und die Amerikaner, or you'll be sent off to the Eastern Front as Volksgrenadiers. Martyrs quickly rushing back. Field support truck packing up. Medic station up for Fog 2. Another Panzer 4 out for Constantly Losing. No attempt from either side to even consider getting Panthers. That might help. And we are seeing a tank depot up from Fog 2. In fact, we're seeing a Sherman up. That could actually cause a huge problem. Unless, of course, it runs straight into the two Martyrs. Panzer is clumping up there again. Lots of units not really doing much. Panzer 4 running straight into the Sherman. That Panzer 4 definitely does not stand a chance. Its gun does not have the sufficient velocity to penetrate the frontal armor of the Sherman. And artillery going down here around the victory point. Not really doing much, except blowing up some dust and dirt. Panzer squad inside the house went down. Martyrs pulling up. Sherman needs to get out of there. Get out of there, Mr. Sherman. Continue fighting up here, and again, another problem. He's just sending in Panzer squads on their own to harass, and that's the thing. Panzer Grenadiers are awful harassers unless upgraded, and I don't think he's upgrading them, and even then, they should not be sent in on their own. They should be part of a coordinated effort, and again, poor unit usage, not quite an understanding of how they work and how they should be employed, which is definitely not like that. And now we do see a Panzer 4 rushing in, but again, yeah. And again, Novice doing the exact same thing with his Marlies. He's rushing in support units when he should not. And now they're at risk of just getting knocked out by sappers without them actually being able to do much. I mean, that's just rubbish. Fallschirmjäger now ready. Instead, he actually calls in another Luftwaffe squad. Panzers are finally arriving, but the Martyrs are simply moving about as such that the Panzers can't move forward. Simply a roadblock. Another problem again of basically just blobbing up and hoarding up. We could at least see one Martyr go down. Destroyed engine. Panzers advancing up. Unit went down somewhere. Oh dear. Can anyone tell me what's wrong with this picture? If you guessed, he's preparing with a full blob of Panzers right next to Martyr in front of the 25-pounder gun. You guessed correctly. That's pretty much how you don't do it, ever. Ever. And again, the fact that he seems somehow surprised rather also ought to display what sort of player we're dealing with. Again, we've got someone with a particular mentality where he seems to be refusing reality and what's actually going on, and for that matter, any consequences of his actions. I mean, that was just poor. Really, just how on earth Could you be surprised at that? I mean, why would you even do that in front of the howitzer? I mean, good lord. Marder went down. Marder here taking a bit of fire. Another Marder in problem. Panzer IV coming in. Sherman getting out there again, having taken quite considerable damage. All the veterans won. No further armor though from FoG, which is actually a bit weird considering everything. You might want to get more tank destroyers of Shermans. Tank busters being trained constantly right there. Luftwaffe troops moving about there. And some standing about here, hiding, I think, from the gaze of constantly losing. If he can't see us, he doesn't know we exist, yeah. And then we'll just surrender to the Americans. Yeah, good idea, Heinz. I know. That's why I'm the clever one. Also, who is this constantly whistling? Yeah. Goddamn Americans. Let's go look at FoG 1. Who's actually got himself an armored command truck. Note all of his trucks are in here.
300 points.
Axes are making some advances, but again, I mean, Novice just lost all of his, well, most of it, and a completely insane thing. As again, which shouldn't have happened. But again, blobbing up also tends, to just lead to blob punishment, which tends to be, in this case, artillery shell knocking it all out. Again, don't blob up, even when repairing. If you must repair using panzers, get some extra repairs for them. Or at least move the unit supposed to be repaired away from the front line so the opponent can't see you doing it. I mean, God in Himmel. It looks like the panzers here fighting on their own again, not really how it's supposed to do it, getting attacked by a swarm of Americans. Luftwaffe squad moving in on its own, which is definitely not how it should be in terms of Luftwaffe squad. Consider them like FoGSomething, so this they should operate with something else. They're not very good on their own, in particular again with that many Americans about. Grenade going off, another Luftwaffe squad arriving, but a bit too late. Definitely this one will go down. Poor handling by ConstantlyLosing again. Poor unit usage, poor unit preservation. Center falling to the Commonwealth. Another mortar half-track, oh good lord. ConstantlyLosing also seems to be exhibiting another problem, which is he's not learning. He's not learning from his own bleeding actions. That's not good at all. Sherman going in after the Panzer IV. Sappers with Piets moving in from another side. Now we do see additional Shermans and tank destroyers out. That is good. And Armada there. Scout car there. And again, constantly Novice doesn't really have a lot going on for him anymore. Also a lot of things spread out in the north. Tisk, tisk. And a stack are now appearing for FoG 1. And artillery strike knocking out more blobbed up Panzer Grenadiers. Again, not necessarily the hallmark of cleverness when he insists on doing that, because he can get away with it. And usually, I mean, there'll be people saying, oh, I'm blobbing because I have to. No, you're blobbing because you can get away with it. That's usually tend to be what some people do things for, not because they are compelled to do so, but because they can get away with it. It's the law of least resistance. And it's particularly common with novices because, again, they don't quite realize the full extent of things, and usually because they also face opponents who don't quite know how to counter it most of the time. But Panzer IV in trouble again, no Panthers. And the Panzer troops, of course, have been wasted in other engagements that they're nowhere near to support either. And I mean, another problem with constantly losing is he's constantly spreading out his troops too far. Now we see Marders, and again, they're being sent out on their own with no support, nothing at all. I mean, they could easily just be outmaneuvered and knocked out in, well, quite neat order. I mean, that's just terrible. Terrible. Looks like now hoping to ambush the returning American armor. Of course, they're going to get caught out on the move, and hopefully the Shermans will just maneuver about, unless of course the Marder somehow manage to block the road, or FoG 2. Oh well, never mind. Veterans, 2 Shermans, 1 Marder down, locking it down. That Sherman's definitely going to get lost, I fear. There we go. Advancing for the south again. Fog 1. And there we go. Another martyr down. Tank buster moving up on their own now, which is less of a good idea. There we go. Quick shot from the Sherman. Finishes the lead 1. And artillery finishes off the rest. Dropping a Panzerschreck. And a Panzer squad full assault force moving in. And again, he's blobbing up. He just refuses, it seems, to learn from his own bleeding mistakes. Looks like he might be trying for anti-tank grenades, but we already see a stag nearby. We're seeing a Firefly. There we go, anti-tank grenades getting lobbed at libitum. At the Howard, and there we go, Calliope barrage straight on the Panzer Grenadiers, and again a full retreat, heavy losses. The Novice never seems to learn. Butterfly bombs being lopped down here to protect the northern part. Butterfly bombs were not actually mines, so more just timed bombs. So of course a bit curious they won't like this, but c'est la vie. And a Yak Panther sent out for Constantly Novice, and seems like he will be repeating the mistake he did with the Martyrs, which is sending on its own. I mean, of course, it's not quite as vulnerable, but usually you want it with some infantry support to get the full advantage out of it. And also, it's not a tank, it's an assault gun, so even then, I mean, it's going to get outflanked by a single Sherman and could, in theory, actually be destroyed by a single Sherman, although it would take a hell of a long time. So, Armor Doctrine for Fork 2. In fact, let's go look at him. And still, constantly losing. Seems content with just throwing Panzerschreck infantry and Panzer forces opponent without much else. Again, no attempt at getting another Panzer force. How about getting some Panthers? I mean, at this stage, Panthers would be a good idea. Panthers are necessary, but again, constantly losing seems to be displaying why he is constantly losing. 40 Megers popping in, although rushing in a bit mindlessly, standing out in the open. And now it looks like they will be murdered on their own, because again they set themselves on a path where once they retreat they will be forced to run a gauntlet and die. And there we go. Down to one man, and he will likely die in a few seconds. Apparently not. Come on, retreat, man. Oh dear. Well, this is definitely not encouraging, and there we go, the 40 Mega squad wasted. Like so much else. There's definitely someone bound for the Eastern Front. Panzer IV under threat from the Sherman Firefly. One of the British many armoured vehicles they equipped with the 17-pounder gun. There was also an M10 that was equipped like that, what's called the Achilles. 40 Megers Panzer advancing. Yak Panther being sent in on its own with no support whatsoever, although no, we do see a Panzer IV arriving, and that's a small comfort. Going for the Vickers machine gun emplacement. Infantry moving up. Fortune Megers being run off. Panzer IV getting hunted down by a Firefly. Heavy Calliope barrels, although the buildings right here do absorb most of the fire, so alright. 25 pounder gun could be the next target.
Enemy unit down.
A veterancy free Sherman, that's definitely a bad sign for the Panzer Elite and the Panzer Brigade. And meanwhile, the assault goes in, another Calliope barrage. Get back into the cover of the building, man. But no. Although it looks like the 25 pounder could go down, and there we go, the Yak Panther finish it with its mighty high velocity 88mm gun, the same as the King Tiger and the Elephant. The Elephant will be in company of yours too. So look forward to trying that out tomorrow, for those that have pre-ordered the beta. And a Firefly up there, that's nice. A Firefly moving in from the rear, that's also good. Catching the Yak Panther from several sides. In fact, seems like he's turning about to focus on the one closest. Panzer is moving in to repair. Sherman could move in there. Of course, if it was outgunned, it would be even better. But the Yak Panther's already heavily damaged.
Enemy unit.
Panzer 4 down. Yak Panther taking intense damage, likely trying to get out of there now, but now it is simply too late. Damaged engine, and there we go. Good night. I even think the Staghound got the kill, which is just absurd, but again, Constantly Novice rather used it poorly. That rather seems again to be, you know, the constant repeating theme. Poor unit usage, poor unit preservation. I mean, overall, in some ways, the composition is alright, but they don't quite know how to fully use it. I mean, they're both anti-tank, anti-infantry, but they just keep using them in wrong ways. They use support units not as support units. And one could really go on.
Enemy unit down.
And of course, there's just the waste of that Yak Panther. And no Panthers, which definitely would have benefited them at this stage, I think. And of course, I mean, with all the vehicles and stuff they could have, one of them could have benefited with a Baggett T as well. But again, just doesn't seem to be happening. Let's return to Constantly Novice and his eternal novicedom. Down to pretty much just Panzer Grenadiers with the anti-tank grenades. Throwing them at the Staghounds. Failing. Panzer 4 rolling in. Sherman's advancing. Telemines, yeah. Might have been a better choice to go for the left-hand side first and get some heads as well. That would also have helped against the infantry. But it seems like Constantly Novice had fallen in love with the Martyrs, but didn't quite know how to use them. In which case, he should have gone for the heads, because, I mean, they're a bit more foolproof. Allied War Machine popping up for the Sherman. Calliope barrages going on the base. The small battery has advanced. Not really much left the Germans can do. Only the large amount of Panzer seems to be doing something in turning over its allies. But even that is of questionable value at this stage of the fight. Fireflies are rising from the south. That Panzer 4 is definitely doomed. Main gun destroyed and out of control. Scout car in trouble.
We have lost a unit.
And good night. Tank busters moving up. And also note, he must have had a ton of munition. In fact, let's just check, because I'm pretty sure he has. Reasonably. But again, he's only training them instead of, you know, training Panzers and upgrading them. I mean, that's spending manpower to save munitions. Usually you should always spend munitions to save manpower. I mean, and let's just briefly pause again. I mean, if you sort of look here, I mean, it also rather displays, you know, which one is important. Fuel, while nice, is, you know, tertiary, munitions secondary, but manpower is always the prime resource. Without that, nothing else works, you know. So again, always work to preserve manpower and use it towards getting more units or something else. Don't be spending it to save munitions, which seems to be what Constantly Losing is doing, which is definitely hurting him as well. Let's go and then use that manpower getting more infantry, or some armor, or something a bit more useful. Another assault by the Panzer Grenadiers, just charging in madly. Not quite having much success, losing them to grenades, and again he's just stopping up as well there. I mean,
The enemy has cut down an infantry unit.
Panzer Squad went down there, obviously, but again, there just seems to be no real clue as to what Constantly Novice seems to be want to achieve. And more Calliope rockets flying in. Nicely centrally positioned right about here. They can cover a large part of the map. And more Panzer Squads lost for Constantly Novice. And now again getting more Martyrs. I mean, they're stuck in a loop and a rut. They can't seem to quite, you know, think beyond getting those few units. Which again It's another mark of the hallmark. There's nothing wrong in being a bit consistent, but you should always also be able to change things if it does not work out. And clearly, the Germans are quite unable to do that. They keep just throwing the same units at the opponent, somehow, you know, expecting things to change. I mean, if you watch all the Far Cry 3 nonsense, that would be the, you know, definition of insanity, you know. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, that's the overall, I think, definition of insanity. Well, still, not good. And again, they keep at it. They keep at doing the exact same thing, and again, somehow expecting a different result, and it's just not going to appear. No matter how much they wish, and they should just cancel them out. He could have cancelled the Marder and called in a headset, which would have helped a bit against the infantry, but again, they just don't seem to realise anything. And again, another Marder sent in on its own, without support, without anything to cover it. I mean, really? Really? Again, someone's definitely heading to the Eastern Front. Not in a command position either. Marder down. Panzer gun is advancing. Straight at the two Shermans. Fallschirmjäger's forced with them as well. And looks like ConstantlyLosing has abandoned the field. Possibly trying to surrender to the Americans before the Germans catch up with him and drag him off. So let's just speed things up a bit, while ConstantlyLosing is, well, he left there as well. So overall, not the best Monday Novice fight. We saw again, you know, some of the more dreadful mistakes a player can make, besides, you know, not using cover, which we did see some use of here, but the more the problem was, again, you know, he had the all right unit composition, but problem was they didn't quite know how to use the units they had. Again, using support units as assault units, which they definitely aren't. Failing to preserve units, failing to learn from your own lessons, which again involve don't have the mortar half-track at the front line with nothing nearby to support it. Charging in Marders, charging in Yak Panthers, again without much support at all. Failing to get Panthers when Panthers definitely would have been useful. The other one would of course been getting Panthers when they were not, but in this case they would have been. And just throwing away the same units over and over again without even changing the unit lineup even a bit. Plus, of course, blobbing up so many of those mistakes. The Allies, of course, certainly had theirs. The American startup was a bit rubbish. Certainly had some problems there. Again, you know, getting one rifleman squad and then sniper. Nah. And the British player definitely could have gotten himself some armor or placed his emplacement right here a bit better. I mean, there were definitely some things that could have been improved there. But overall, you know, hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe, tell your friends. If you didn't, well, why not send a replay of your own or provide some feedback in the comments. Feedback is always appreciated. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers and look forward to tomorrow.